RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. You want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Monday, August 12th. And you know what we do on Mondays? It's Mondays with McCool. James McCool, the co-author with me on the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com. Hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. You know how much I like those. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Remember, later today, we do have Grinders Live at 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by Crunch Time. And Roth will be on with a weather update, which I don't think matters that much. I don't think we have to worry that much about weather today, but tune in for a more detailed breakdown of today's 8-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings. And James, we got some pitching to talk about because it's kind of like we got a whole bunch of arms, and then we have a whole bunch of stacks. And to me, it's quite clear, at least, like, you know, who's in that, like, those groupings. But maybe, you know, we tend to disagree just a little bit here on the show. So let's start looking at pitching. The 9K plus options. We got Chris Sale, 10.5K. We got Blake Snell, 9,300. Luis Gil, 9,000. Pablo Lopez, 9,200. Freddie Peralta, 9,300. Pricing not, you know, if pricing wasn't an issue. And we do have some value bats around the slate that you could kind of play almost any stack on the slate to some extent. I mean, some have some really pricey options in them. Can you give me a reason not to play Chris Sale and Blake Snell in the same game, by the way? That's a 6.5 total. Atlanta at San Francisco. Chris Sale, 10,500. You see the bat projections on the screen. Blake Snell, who, you know, he's kind of back to his, I mean, he's up and down, but 15, 11, 8 strikeouts the past 3 games. Chris Sale, obviously, sailing along. Why shouldn't I play Sale plus Snell, assuming that I could fit a 10.5K and $900 pitcher together?
I don't have a great reason not to. I mean, like the strikeout potential between those two is obviously the highest on the slate. Blake Snell has had like a 34% strikeout rate or something. Chris Sale has been 30+% for a while now. He projects for the best on the slate by far, both in my models and on RotoGrinders. So I don't have any reason not to. I guess the only reason that you wouldn't is because Brandon Pfaadt at 8,600 is a solid projection right next to Snell. You also have Pablo Lopez and Luis Gil on the slate, and both of those guys are going to project well in terms of being high-priced guys. I think the big thing is it's less about whether you want to place Snell and Sale together, and way better to think about it of, okay, we have a whole bunch of these mid-9K pitchers. Do I want to pay up to Sale? That's the question in my mind, because we have 4 guys that I think have feelings that maybe don't match Chris Sale, but can compete in terms of winning GPPs, and they're $1,000 less. So I think that's more of the question. I think it's less around Snell and more around Sale.
Well, also Sale and Snell are going to be the most owned pitchers on the slate. I'm expecting them to be, I don't know, 40-ish%, 35 to 45, depending on how you build your lineups. Chris Sale has the highest strikeout prop on the slate at 8.5. Snell at 7.5. Then we have these guys like I want to talk about Pfaadt in a second separately, but we got Luis Gil at 9,000, Pablo Lopez at 9,200, Freddie Peralta at 9,300. Peralta's probably going to be the lowest owned out of these because he's facing the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are back to kind of full strength. I mean, they got Freeman, they got Teoscar, they got, you know, that top half of the lineup is one of the best in baseball. Pablo Lopez had a pretty bad start last time out. The Royals, I mean, they do have a 3.6 implied run total, but you know they're not a bad team. But then Luis Gil is facing the White Sox, and the White Sox have a sub-3 total, and the White Sox they're kind of a creative team. They're kind of like, you know, you go into MLB The Show, and you start banging your head against the keyboard for the player characteristics, and that's the White Sox. That's one of the teams in the league that are like that. So out of these three, I think Gill will be the most owned, but maybe not super owned because he's only 300 less than Snell. I get the sense that the choice that you prefer Snell to Sale, given that it's a $1,200 difference in price, and that playing Snell like Gill, for instance, is much more appealing than playing Sale with Gill, because I'm not sure you'd rather take the 1,200 and make sure you get a more primary part of your stack or a better one-off. Do you have out of these three, Gil, Lopez, and Peralta, how would you rank them? Because they're about the same price. I don't think price matters, and I'm not even sure if ownership matters.
Yeah, I'd put Gill probably first above the other two. I'd put Peralta way below. Peralta's baselines are not even really that great, especially this year. They've been pretty lackluster, and I'm not trying to attack the Dodgers on an 8-game slate with a pitcher that is relatively expensive, right? Like, I just kind of have no reason to go there, even regardless of ownership. At 12%, maybe I'd play him at like 2%, but I just don't have any interest to go there. I think that Pablo Lopez is a really interesting one, though, because he did have that really bad start, but faces Kansas City, but it's Kansas City on the road. And Kansas City on the road is a considerably worse team than Kansas City at home. The last time I looked, there was a 28 runs created plus difference between them on the road and them at home. And while I don't think that stuff is like super duper actionable, I do think that in terms of saying, do I want to play Luis Gil or Pablo Lopez? I think that it has a little bit of weight. Now, Kansas City at home or away is the worst team in baseball. So, or I mean, the White Sox.
You mean the White Sox?
Yeah, the White Sox away or at home are the worst team in baseball. So it's got to be Luis Gil on top of both of them. But then Pablo Lopez probably pretty far ahead of Freddie Peralta. And I do think that you're going to get a pretty big ownership discount on both Lopez and Peralta. They should probably both come in less than 15%. I would guess like less than 10% on both of them.
Well, we also have two 8K range pitchers that I think are viable. We have Brandon Pfaadt at 8,600 against Colorado, and Brady Singer 8,400 against Minnesota. I mean, I assume Pfaadt is much better than Singer simply due to matchup against Colorado because they're not good. But Brady Singer's strikeouts have kind of come back. I mean, if we take a look at the past month or so, 6, 4, 5, 7. There's a 7 in here, right? Pretty decent scores. Of course, one bad outing against Boston. I mean, I'm not a Brady Singer guy at all. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. I mean, his strikeout prop is 5.5. I mean, maybe leaning more than 4.5. I typically don't like picking on Minnesota at all. I don't play them as a stack really much at their prices usually. I'm assuming you're gonna tell me that in your models that Pfaadt is dramatically a better projected play than Singer, but I'm not sure how many people are going to play Brady Singer at 8,400 because it's not like these pitchers are like cheap, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm not sure Brandon Pfaadt is going to be like 30% owned on this slate, or Brady Singer is going to be like even 10% owned on this slate because all you have to do is play like Adel Castillo at 2,100 a catcher, and then build your stack, and you pretty much could get whatever two pitchers you want.
Yeah, so let's go back to that Brady Singer game log first off, and let's just kind of take in note who he had those high strikeout games against. He had a good game against the White Sox. He had a good game against Colorado, and he had a good game against the Cubs. I'm not really inclined to take those. It's like gospel.
For also, he didn't have that. He got 6 strikeouts against the Red Sox, but he also gave up 10 hits.
Right? Yeah. He had 10 fantasy points against the Red Sox. So I'm not really inclined to say that he's like worth using, especially against Minnesota. He's one of those pitchers that is likely very, very matchup dependent. So yeah, Pfaadt, however you pronounce the name. I have him with 5 points over Singer. Like I have Pfaadt project for 18.6 and Singer project for like 18.5. So Pretty large difference there. I don't really have any reason to consider Brady Singer in this spot.
Okay, but but if we have A bucket, B bucket, C bucket, I like doing the A bucket pictures, B bucket pictures, C bucket. Is there, first off, is there? Well, I'll say it at the end. Okay, so if there's any other pictures that you would consider, because I don't have any, but I think the A bucket is clearly Sale Snell, and the B, but this is what I would do. The A bucket, Sale Snell. The B bucket, Gill, Fought. The C bucket, Lopez, Peralta, Singer. Like, obviously ownership considered, everything like that, and price considered. But would you move those around, or does that about what you would view it as?
I would swap Gill and Snell. Put Snell and B.
Big Snell's in the B tier.
Well, only in consideration of ownership, really. I think that Snell will probably be 2 times, maybe higher, 2.5 times higher than Gill. And I mean, a pitcher against the White Sox that has high strikeout potential. I just like that spot a little bit more. Okay. But as far as projections go, they're pretty much the same. So I'm just going to have to defer on ownership. But those two, if you want to switch those two, it's whatever.
So are there any other pitchers that you would even consider, like typically my C bucket is like, okay, large field, you can take a shot, whatever. A is like cream of the crop. B is like mix them in. C is, you're not crazy for playing them, but you should include them. Is there anyone that's like you're not crazy for taking a shot? Because, especially like cheaper pitching, like Bowden Francis at 5,800 against the Angels. We have Blaylock. Potentially, who knows, how many pitches for Blaylock against Arizona. I think I'm much more likely to play the Diamondbacks. Taylor Molly. The corpse of Clayton Kershaw at 7,700. Brian Bayo at 7,900. Is there? It doesn't seem like these options are like cheap enough that I'd even want to take a shot.
Yeah, I'm not taking a shot on Blaylock. So Davis Daniel is kind of the only other guy that I like. If we want to put somebody cheap, he's 7,200. I have written about him a couple times in the breadcrumbs. I do not think that he is an incredible pitcher. He's kind of like a journeyman minor league guy. He's like 27 years old and he's struggled with injuries. But I do think that he's going to kind of get to a point where he has a decent floor. He's run pretty bad in terms of both matchups and left on base rate. So I think he has some room to get better. Don't love the matchup. Probably wouldn't consider him in most fields, but if you have, if you're playing the large field stuff and you want to pay down a little bit, I think you could do worse than Davis Daniel.
Okay, let's take a look at stacks now. You know what I do? I put the tier list up here, A, B, C, D, and F. 8-game slate, 16 teams, 5-man stacks on DraftKings, and this ranking is ownership adjusted. So if we think they're a bit overowned, maybe they come down on the list. If we think they're a bit underowned, they start coming up on the list. And because they're 5-man stacks, doesn't mean you can't play one bat from a team that's in the D tier or something. Like, these are just 5-man stacks. Let's start with the top of the list, and it's the top of the list by far, at least in the bat projections. 5-man stack of the Yankees against Kai Busch. They project an average 5-man stack projects almost 6 points clear of every other team on the slate. Yeah. And then we have a whole bunch after the Yankees. We have a whole bunch of teams in the middle. We got like more than half the slate that's like between like a 3-point range. But the Yankees stand out amongst all of them. They have expensive batters in their lineup. They also have cheap ones. If you get a Verdugo leading off at 3,200, I know he's really not good, right? I know that. You got Gleyber Torres at 3,600 in that stack, which means you can pay for a Judge, right? Stan's not not over 5K or anything. The Yankees against Busch, I'm going to assume if their lineup is as projected, they have the highest total on the slate at 5.5. That they're going to be the highest owned team on the slate. And I think, as usual with the Yankees, they're going to be over-owned, even at their projection. I think there are some other teams that are from a point per dollar value, are competitive enough with them, even in this like blob of like mid-range stuff. So I'm gonna put the Yankees in the B tier. I'm assuming based on a lot of your tweets that the Yankees, you may put the Yankees in the C. You don't rate the Yankees as highly as most people.
So I have them as the top overall stack today.
Okay.
Which should tell you how well they project. Because typically I am a little bit lower on them. But yeah, I have them as top overall. The only reason we can't put them in the A is because I have them projected for twice the ownership of any other team. I just, you don't
care. Austin Wells, it's fine. You can play him.
So the question from Jared Barton, who's the best cleanup hitter on the Yankees? It's not Austin Wells. I've been getting a lot of trash for that. But yeah, I think you can play anyone on the Yankees. The problem is, here's my issue. How high do we think that they can really come in if the only pitchers that people are going to be playing are 9K plus? That's my question.
James, they're going to put Del Castillo at catcher at 2,100, and then like Spencer Horwitz or something. I mean, like people are going to put 2K players that project well, and then you could build whatever stack you want.
So I think that New York is, if they come in at this high of ownership, they're a B tier team. I'm going to monitor ownership a little bit because I agree there are some cheaper players that we can utilize to get there. But I don't know that if you're using an optimizer, I think that you get a lot of Yankees. If you're hand building, I'm not sure how good you feel about hand building into the Yankees. So I want to kind of monitor that. But they are the top overall stack by projection, median, ceiling, all that kind of stuff. Kai Busch sucks. He's just not a good prospect. So the White Sox don't have a good bullpen. It's such a good spot for the Yankees. In small field, I think you force them in. But in large field, I do think there's a question.
You always got DJ LeMahieu batting 9th at 2,500.
Oh, so you can't see, but that's the other problem, right? Like, if you're playing the Yankees and you end up on Alex Verdugo and DJ LeMahieu, it's like there's better ways to spend your salary, I think.
I think we just lost Blender.
We just lost Blender? Oh man. That's crazy.
I don't even have the tiers up, so I don't know what to do in this situation. We're going to do it without the screen share for now until he gets back. But let's see, next game. White Sox. What tier would you have the White Sox in?
You just jump right into the White Sox. I'd have them in the F tier as a team. I do think that Andrew Vaughn is an interesting one-off if you're not playing Luis Gil. Andrew Vaughn has been good. Andrew Benintendi, because Andrew Benintendi is like free. And Luis Gil does have some home run prone tendencies. So I do think that Benintendi is an interesting one-off, but F tier stack.
Yeah, Benintendi's had this kind of weird power phase lately that I'm not sure what's happening with it. He's back. He's back.
It was StreamYard. It wasn't my internet. It just said that StreamYard crashed. I thought it crashed for everyone. I guess just me.
Yep, just you. Me and TJ talked about the White Sox in the F tier.
Oh, so we automatically put the White Sox in the F tier. We were gonna get to that. Don't worry about it. We were gonna get to that. So yes.
I wasn't sure where we were in the Yankees conversation, so I was just like, White Sox. That'll be easy. There's no way they're not in F.
Okay, so let's talk about this mid-range blob of teams. Okay, I'm just gonna list them off, and then we'll go through them one by one. The Rangers against Brain Bayo. The Diamondbacks against Blaylock, the Dodgers against Peralta, the Angels against Francis, the Padres against Gonzalez, the Blue Jays against Daniel, the Royals against Lopez, the Red Sox against Molly, and the Twins against Singer. And the Twins against Singer. They all project in the bat between 34 and 37 average 5-man stack mean projection. Out of these teams, I think, to me, my ace, if I was going to play a stack on this slate, I think the Diamondbacks are the A tier stack.
Mhm.
And I also think that just due to price, and they have a pretty decent projection against Bowden Francis, the Angels, I would put in the B tier. And I would say the same for the Blue Jays against Davis Daniel, simply due to price. What do you think about these?
Yeah, Arizona's the A tier stack. I have them with about a 29% chance scoring 8+ runs. And at half the ownership of the Yankees. So that sounds terrific. Fine with them in the A tier. Angels B tier. I'm good with that as well. I actually have them with very similar prospects to Arizona at very similar ownership. So just because they are facing a team that is not the Rockies, B tier is good, but I would almost be inclined to put them in the A tier as well because their price is very, very acceptable. Toronto, I don't have Toronto projected that well. Like I said, I think Davis Daniel is an okay SP2 here. And at ownership, I mean, Toronto is projected for the second most ownership on the slate. So I'd rather them in the C tier.
Okay, I can go with that. I would put them in that order, but maybe the Blue Jays, depending on ownership, could be a B tier team. They could get bumped down if they get too owned. Next on this list, okay, the Dodgers project, I mean, decently against Freddie Peralta, but on this lane, it feels like I shouldn't be playing a stack against a good pitcher, right? It's not a small slate. It's not a slate. It's not if Freddie Peralta gets hit up for 6 runs, I still don't think the stack that he's pitching against is the top stack compared to some of these other stacks and these pitchers that they're facing. So the Dodgers, while playing a one-off from the Dodgers, I think is fine. Playing 2 guys from the Dodgers, I think is fine, but I'm going to put him maybe C or D. I mean, the Dodgers are good enough that, I mean, against anyone, they probably shouldn't be towards the bottom. They're not an F tier team, but it's not a team that I'm going to be playing to me, it's D because I don't think you're crazy for playing them, but I'm not. And that's kind of what the D tier always is.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you on this. They're expensive. They project well, but frankly, I don't know how many times I have full stacked the Dodgers overall this year outside of just doing a 3-man. They're expensive and their production is pretty concentrated at the top of the order. So I'm fine with them in the D tier. I wouldn't consider them as like if I'm going to choose them or the Yankees or Arizona, it's them the last place there every single time.
Right. And TJ made a point in chat. Seeing the Diamondbacks lineup, there's a solid chance there could be no Marte or Gurriel, and they could be really cheap. Yes, that is true. I mean, we have the projected lineup. Where is it? Projected lineup right here is with Marte in, but no Gurriel. But I mean, you get a Josh Bell at 3,500, Adrian Del Castillo at 2,100. I wouldn't play him as a one-off on this slate. Eugenio Suarez. I mean, you got all the bottom of the order. Maybe you don't play Perdomo, right? Corbin Carroll has come back to, he's not $7 million anymore, right? Jock Peterson, somewhat of a pinch hit risk. I mean, with McCarthy in there as well, maybe not so much. And Alec Thomas in there as well. Not all of them are going to be pinch hit for, right? So depending on if Marte isn't in, obviously their team total starts going down. Their projection starts going down a bit, but their price goes considerably down. So definitely take a look at that. Padres against. Let's talk about when we talk about the Dodgers against Peralta. How about the Royals against Pablo Lopez? I'm much more likely to play teams against Pablo Lopez than I am Freddie Peralta, but it still doesn't feel like the type of slate where I should be playing the Royal. Like, I don't think you're crazy for playing the Royals against Lopez, but I'm not. So that's kind of the same thing, kind of a D tier to me. Unless you can make a case for them to move up.
I can't. They're on the road. They're against a pitcher that is not bad. Like, There's 5 teams that are facing actually bad pitchers, and focusing on those 5 teams is probably better.
Okay, so the Twins against Singer. The Twins against Singer, are they a similar case where I'd much more rather play Singer than the Twins? Or do they stay in this C tier? Because I don't know. I'm kind of in the detail. I mean, I'm not even considering the Twins today against Singer. I mean, they're in the you're not crazy for playing them, but I'm not category.
I have them projected pretty well. So I will argue for them in the C tier, especially because I don't think Singer is actually good. But I totally understand not wanting to play mine.
Right, but if I were to play any between the Dodgers, the Royals, and the Twins, I would consider playing the Twins out of the 3 teams. So if anything over there, D plus or C minus, I'll put them there. Then we got the Padres against Marco Gonzalez. The Padres I don't know. The Padres should have been better this year, and they're not. And I typically don't stack against Marco Gonzalez because although Marco Gonzalez will not strike out many batters, he's very similar mold to that Martin Perez, Tyler Anderson, soft throwing lefty that gets a bunch of ground balls. He may give up 4 runs like every game, but he rarely gives up 10. So the Padres, I mean, are they C tier with the Twins, or they go down? I mean, I'm not playing Padres today. So to me, they're a D tier team. But maybe you could make a case that they should be a C tier with the Twins at least.
Again, I have them projected well, but I can understand D plus, C minus. Like we almost need for a slate like this, we almost need like something between C and D to put these teams because they are right there.
Because there's not much difference projection-wise between a lot of these teams. That's why I said they're all in like a blob in the middle. Yeah. Then we have the Red Sox against Tyler Mahle. And price-wise, I mean, they're kind of expensive, right? But the ownership is going to be low. But, I mean, in order to fit a Red Sox stack, and, I mean, obviously you could play, 2 cheap one-offs or something like that. Like, I think that's what a lot of the lineups are going to look like. I'm going to put them in the same thing. I mean, like I said in the beginning of the show, there's like a group of pitchers that I want to play and a group of teams that I want to play. Everyone else is kind of like viable, but I'm not doing it. So like the Red Sox fall into that category for me of like, I'm not playing the Red Sox today, but I don't think you're crazy for doing so. Are you going to make how do they project on your end that are they going to get bumped up to the C tier because, they're better than the Dodgers or Royals?
I'll take them under the Padres and the Twins. I'm fine with that. Fine with them in the D tier.
The last one is I have a different story. The Rangers against Brayan Bello. I'm going to make a case that the Rangers are an A tier team today. Okay. Your little giggle means that maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah.
They're at least the B tier. If you want to put them in the B tier, I'm fine with that. But I don't think they're going to. I think the Diamondbacks are going to be higher owned. And the Rangers and the Bat project for actually slightly better. They're a little bit more expensive. I think the Blue Jays will be higher owned. I actually think the Angels will be higher owned. I just think from an ownership perspective that the Rangers end up coming in like maybe 5th in ownership. And from a projection standpoint, like they're in the Bat, they're number 2 on the entire slate. I don't mind playing pitchers, hitters against Bello, and the Rangers are playing at Fenway, so I mean that's a bit of a ballpark upgrade. So I don't mind playing my Diamondbacks Rangers lineup. Looks pretty good.
Have you considered that they suck?
The numbers don't say so.
The numbers kind of say so.
They kind of say, you have to all price considered, matchup considered, ballpark considered, everything like that. I mean, the Angels suck too, and we put them in the B tier.
The Angels have been considerably better than the Rangers over the last month.
The last month. How about the Rangers are they're defending World Series champions.
Oh, yep, and that has definitely translated. Look, I don't think that Boston's bullpen is especially bad. I don't think that Brayan Bello is especially bad. I think that Texas is like kind of middling, that they're better lately. Their matchup is good. Like, I'm fine with them in the B tier if you think that they're going to be that low owned. Texas, they're kind of an ownership play, I think, between a B and a C tier. If they get ownership, like if they have more ownership than Arizona, then they're like a D tier stack. If they have the 6th lowest ownership or the 6th highest ownership on the slate, then they can be B tier. So it's entirely ownership dependent for me.
All
But I
can
would not
say
put
is
them in the A tier. I can't put them.
Oh, you
in
can't?
The,
You
no,
can't?
I cannot
Well,
put them in the A tier.
Well, I'm playing tonight's slate, and Texas is the reason.
Texas is the reason. What? Not attacking Colorado.
Texas is the I'm just making a music reference. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I didn't get the reference.
No, I thought you would. I thought you would, James. I thought I knew you.
Missed it.
Okay. Let's go down to the bottom tier teams. Okay.
All
So
right.
we got a whole bunch we got 6 teams that are project below this blob, and 2 that project really below the blob. The other one outside of the White Sox are the Giants against Chris Sale. And this is just like, I mean, TJ's producing, and we got it's like the trifecta of circumstance that they're facing Chris Sale, TJ is producing, and the Giants never win anything in DFS. I think if there was a tier below F, that's where the Giants would go. Unless never the Giants, unless you tell me otherwise. I mean, Chris Sale is going to be 50% owned. If he's going to be 50% owned, that means there's leverage against him, but it's never the Giants, so it doesn't matter.
Right, yeah. We almost always say, well, if a pitcher is going to be 50+% owned, we have to put the other team in the D tier because of the leverage. But the team is the Giants, never the Giants. Giants don't win GPPs. They definitely don't win GPPs against Sale. This is an F- team below the White Sox.
How about the Braves against Blake Snell? I think Blake Snell has much more likelihood of walking 5 guys and blowing up in a game, but the Braves are expensive. I mean, the Braves are way expensive for the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are they an F tier team, or are they if you're playing large field, I'm not doing it, but you're not crazy for trying type of tier?
Yeah, I'll put him in the D tier here, mostly because his ownership, Snell's ownership is going to be really, really high too, like 40+% owned probably. And the Braves at least do win GPPs and can hit the ball hard, and Snell is much more blow up prone than Sale is. So I'll put them in the D. Fine with that.
Okay, how about the Rockies against Brandon Pfaadt? Now, obviously, Pfaadt is it is not the same type of pitcher as a Snell or a Sale, but the Rockies are away from the cores. Why am I paying? I mean, dude, you could play you could play so many other teams other than the Rockies. Why is the stack price so expensive? I'm putting the Rockies on the F tier because at their prices, I don't see why you play them.
Yeah, you can't. There's no reason to play them whatsoever. They don't offer that much leverage, and they're expensive, and their total sucks. There's just no reason to.
Okay, last 2 teams are 2 teams facing pitchers that are not going to be owned today, and 2 pitchers that are probably on pitch counts. One a little bit more so than others. You got the Pirates against returning Joe Musgrove. Mm-hmm. That maybe 65 pitches, maybe for Musgrove. Kershaw probably doesn't go past 80, 85 at best or something. The Brewers are a bit cheaper as a stack and kind of a better team. I think Kershaw still probably strikes out 4 or 5 anyway. If I were to take a shot on anyone, I still would rather take a shot on Milwaukee against Kershaw than the Pirates against Pirates, and then a bullpen game. And I'm not all that big on bullpen games with pinch hitting, and you don't get to see a pitcher more than 1 at bat. So the Pirates are can you play them? Sure. Are you crazy for playing them? No, but I'm not. But I would consider a Brewers stack on this slate.
Yeah, Brewers have been lighting the world on fire over the last month or so. Over the last 10 games, scoring 6.3 runs per game. They've scored 8 or more runs in 50% of their last 10 games. Really, really strong team right now. And just a good batting order overall. The downside is they're facing Clayton Kershaw. The upside is that the Dodgers bullpen is not all that great. So I definitely think that Milwaukee makes for an interesting stack in larger fields.
Okay, so there we got it. We got, my 3 lineups tonight. I'll probably have a Diamondback stack. I'll definitely have a Texas stack.
Gross.
I'll probably just fade the Yankees and then they'll score 400 runs and I'll be done.
But you made the right EV choice, even if it was $0.
Right. Well, I know that. Right. But I like the Angels, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers. I'm not even sure you can play a Yankees one-off. I mean, just the ownership. It's like if the Yankees, if any of them like do absurdly well, I mean, that probably means everyone else has done well. Like I'm not gonna pay $6,900 for an Aaron Judge or a Soto one-off 6,400 and then not play the rest of the Yankees. Like just it ain't gonna happen. And I'm probably not gonna play Gleyber Torres at 3,600 as a one-off second baseman either. So
yeah,
I'm just
I mean,
I'm rooting it. Or Verdugo. Imagine playing Verdugo as a one-off at 3,200.
If you have the money, you have no reason not to play an Aaron Judge one. Like you're probably not going to have the money, but if you have the money, like say that both Marte and Gurriel are out for Arizona, and you get Jake McCarthy and Perdomo as you like get Corbin, Perdomo, and Jake McCarthy as the 3 first hitters, and then you have a punt catcher that you can use. Like you should probably play an Aaron Judge one off. But
I'm gonna pay for Sale and Snell.
Well, yeah, but you could do that if Arizona is super cheap and still get expensive pitchers and still get an Aaron Judge one-off. If you, all I'm saying is if you can afford it, you're not going to like avoid.
Right, I'm not going to leave $2K on the salary just so I can play like someone else.
Right. Yeah.
Right, I'm not going to say, oh, I have all the money for Judge, but I'm going to play Gavin Sheets instead. Like I'm not doing.
Right. Yeah. Would be very silly stuff. There's a question asked earlier from could be Travis that asked me why I'd rather play the Yankees in small field when I have Arizona at a 30% chance for 8+ at half the Yankees ownership. And the reason for that is simply just lineup volatility. Like if I'm in the 250 or if I'm in, I haven't even looked at the contest today, but if I'm in the 250 or the 5 or something like that, and it's a smaller field and it's a sharp field, I don't really have much reason to add a whole bunch of volatility to my lineup and playing an Arizona stack at half the ownership of the Yankees, especially if I think that the Yankees are 1, really, really good chalk, 2, twice the ownership, and 3, if I am playing the Yankees, I'm probably not playing one of Snell or Sale, so I need to add some ownership to my lineup one way or another. I just think that you probably just start with Snell Yankees in small field, and if you play larger fields, that's where you get away from it. But when you're playing smaller fields, you want to remove a little bit of volatility to your lineup and add a little bit of ownership.
Yeah, I'm going the opposite way. My way is for this slate is I'd rather play the chalk pitchers than play the chalk.
Sure. And that's the other way to do it too. Yeah, is if you just lock in Sale and Snell and have all of that to lower the volatility, then you can play Arizona in small field. But that's right. Those are the 3 pivots, or those are the 3 leverage points on the slate: are Sale, Snell, and the Yankees. You're choosing one of those 3 to not have in small field.
Well, you're choosing one of those 3 probably to not have in large field, and you're probably choosing 2 out of those 3 to have in small field.
Yeah, that's the right way to say it. Yeah, you're choosing 2 of those 3 to have in small field. That's the better way to put it.
Right. 1 out of those 3 in large field.
Right.
And if you're doing 3 out of those 3, I mean, you're going to be sharing points with a lot.
I mean, if you're playing head to heads, yeah, you're just going to have all 3. If you're playing cash games, like you're just going to have all 3. But that's kind of how it goes. And in baseball, there's a very simple heuristic called the rule of 3. Which is in cash games, you play all 3 of the leverage points. In small field, you play 2 of them. In large field, you play 1 of them. And then just, fill in the blanks.
The largest field, you could even play 0 of them.
If you want.
We don't even get those types of fields.
No. In NFL, you do, though. It's coming up.
Well, NFL, you barely get those types of fields either. I mean, truthfully, in NFL, which is coming up soon, obviously, a month from now, a lot of times the variance is lower than like the hitters in baseball, where it's like, oh, you got the 40% owned underpriced running back, the 40% owned underpriced wide receiver, and the underpriced defense or something like that. It's like you're probably playing one of the you're playing the running back or the wide receiver. You're probably not playing zero of them, right? In basketball, you'd rarely do that. Oh, we have 80% owned players. Like, you're probably, even in large fields, you're probably playing all three of them anyway, right? Because it's just, based on the distribution of outcomes, you're probably doing that no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll push back on is defense comment. Never played chalk defense. Silly.
And Sims would say otherwise.
Yeah, well, the Sims are
know
just numbers, but
they're just numbers.
They're just numbers.
The Sims know all.
The Sims do not know all. The Sims very silly will say, oh, it's a $2,200 defense that projects for 5 fantasy points, and say that you should play them a lot, when there's a $2,800 defense that projects for 5.5 and a $2,000 defense projects for 4.6. like they're all right there. I'm not in the business of overpaying ownership for a position that is super volatile and projects within 3 points of every other one in the position.
But that's why we have Sims for that. And you can get our Sims product here at RotoGrinders, Sim Labs, which is now available on mobile. You get the Sim Labs app if you're a RotoGrinders premium member. Obviously, we have it for baseball, but also coming up for NFL season. So if you want to have the access of our projections and ownership and simulate contest-based simulations in the palm of your hand, go download the Sim Labs app in the iOS store. It's going to be coming soon to Android, and then join RotoGrinders, be a combo premium member. You get all the sports, MLB, you get PGA, you get NFL. You get college football. We got that coming back, right? College basketball, regular NBA basketball, hockey, everything. So click on that link in the description. Get $40 off your first month. James, you're over at paydirtdfs.com.
I am, yeah. Getting ready to start ramping up for NFL. I always do this last probably month of the off season or whatever, any sport. So pretty excited to get back into that and optimize some things. I think it's going to be a really fun season.
Okie doke. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. You know how much I like the thummy thumbs. Hit that thumbs up button. Give us your thumbs. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here, and hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. Grinders Live, 5 p.m. Eastern with Dean and the guys, followed by Crunch Time at around 6:15 Eastern or so with Kevin Roth. They'll be breaking down the slates with all the updated lineups, all the updated weather, all the updated projections here at RotoGrinders. So give me those thummy thumbs, and I'll see you guys tomorrow talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.